Everybody. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Friday before the Halloween weekend. I know it's kind of cold and blistery here in central Pennsylvania, and if you're anywhere else, I hope your weather's nicer than what we have today. So today we're going to dive into financial wellness. We're pretty excited to have our HR team reach out to us and ask the Phoenix finance team here to give a little presentation. It's kind of celebrating a little financial wellness month, I'll say. So we're going to go through a variety of topics kind of related to personal finances and how it influences not only your financial wellness, but your overall state of mind, your health, and all the other factors that the stresses of personal finance may influence. So we'll dive into it here, and would love for this to be interactive. So please feel free to raise your hand or post anything in the chat. Tiffany, Tom, if you don't mind, and Wanda, if you don't mind kind of monitoring the chat, if anybody posts anything that we'd like to bring to everyone's attention, that would be great. Here's a quick little overview of what we'll discuss today. So we're going to go through a fun little disclaimer and then kind of introduce financial wellness and all the different factors associated with the financial wellness. Go through the good, the bad, and the ugly, I called it, which is some of the statistics associated with personal finances here in the United States and how personal finance affects Americans. We'll take a short look at some things you can do to reduce your financial stress, and then really dive into budgeting and planning and some of the strategies and tools that you can use or put into place to help improve your financial wellness and hopefully the overall quality of your life if you don't do much today. And then the back end of it, we'll just have Q&A and some feedback, and hopefully this becomes somewhat interactive and we can hear from some of you, maybe some of the things that you do if we don't touch on them, or other things that you're aware of, other tools or strategies that you or others put into place to lead to success. And I just want to draw your attention, if you haven't read it already, just over to the right side. Really the foundation of the whole presentation here is kind of summarized in this quote, and just the whole fact that the quality of your life is not always measured by your wealth and your bank account. And as it relates to financial wellness and the impact it can have on stress in our lives, we really wanted to reiterate this point all through the presentation. So we're not necessarily going to get into every little tool and strategy you can do, because we're all different and different things work for different people. It's funny. Some people might use technology. Other people like to use pen and paper. So there's no right, wrong, or indifferent way to go about things. But really, all of this is just focused on improving the quality of your overall well-being through the successful management of your personal finances, regardless of the income you may or may not make. So here's my fun little disclaimer. I was going to try to read this like a radio personality and do it in like 12 seconds, but after trying like 15 times, it was not pretty. So I'll just quickly read it off here. The content info we're going to go through here and our opinions is just for general informational purposes. We're not trying to push any specific financial model in any way. And this is really just info intended to provide some education about the health benefits of managing your personal finances. And just kind of poking fun at the fact, anytime you get into some of the financial consultation aspects of personal finance, there's always there's free advice, but there's really never any free advice. So just wanted to hint at that. And this is just a joke. Julie did not make me put this in there, but really just want to reiterate the fact that we're going to try to have some fun today with this, show some pretty neat statistics about things, and please feel free to speak up, raise your hand. The more interaction, I feel like the better the presentation will be overall. All right, so let's get into it. Kind of just what is financial health? I mean, that's really the basis of what we're going to talk about today, the financial health and how it influences our stress and our overall sense of wellness. And as we're all aware, there's many organizations, administrations, and institutes for an endless number of topics. And there is a Financial Health Institute, if you've never heard of it. I did hyperlink this in the slide deck. So when we provide this afterwards, feel free to go out to their website. They have a ton of information. And they very scientifically define financial health as the dynamic relationship of your financial and economic resources as they are applied to or impact the state of your physical, mental, and social well-being. As we get into things today, I'm really going to focus more on the mental aspect of your well-being, obviously, because as it comes to finances, there's a very direct linkage to the stress levels on your mental health. And then that's kind of what can radiate into the physical and social well-being of the other aspects of your life. So we'll get into that. And then speaking to that in a little more detail, it's as you're going to see here statistically, and it's probably of no surprise to many of you, that financial issues tend to be one of the leading cause of stressors in American society. And because of that, because of the nature of financial stressors, where it's really how we go about managing them ourselves, it's really on us to take initiative to manage them. If we don't change our habits, those stressors they very easily convert into a chronic type of stress. And that is, when you really think about American society and the stress, how it impacts our health, it's of no surprise that those stressors then lead to cardiovascular issues. It can lead to early onset diabetes or obesity. You think about having sleepless nights and stressing over things, how it impairs your judgment the next day, your ability to learn and memorize things. So we're gonna focus on that, and really, again, the whole premise here is to try to ease some of those stressors to help improve all those other areas of your life and your general wellness here. So, big question is, why would financial stress impact so many? It's there's in no particular order and in no particular level of importance here. There's a couple things. Just it's like almost as if human nature really is a main driver to why financial stress starts to impact us so much. When you think of it, it's really a personal oversight topic. I mean, we're all accountable for it, and if individuals allow their personal financial situation to start to develop stress, it's really only on them to change their ways and be reactive. And if we don't break out of those habits or break out of those trends, that's where that stress can build, become chronic, and lead to those issues we just discussed. But there's really then a variety of external factors that I believe then unfortunately fuel that from a personal perspective. When you think about, I honestly feel like there could be a totally other lunch and learn on the fact that I personally don't feel that the education system in the U.S. does a great job to establish a good understanding of personal financials for young individuals coming out of school and graduating. They don't have a lot of focus on the financial system, the taxation system, and how personal finances, how important they are later in life. So when kids come out of school and they don't have a great education associated with financials, it then puts them in a place where the financial systems feel complex. And you consider how much has changed over the years on our financial systems and all the different technology and tools that we have, and how politics play a part of the taxation system and how things change. And in theory, we should be adapting to that. It makes it just a little more difficult for someone to feel confident in managing their personal financials in a way that is adequate for them and really working towards their goals. And then that's where that last bullet point, we sometimes then find ourselves that we're our own worst enemy. We're not changing. We're not doing things differently to go learn new things about the financial system. Maybe we're not talking about it with a professional. And so those bad habits begin to build, and then it leads to the fact that stress starts to influence. And just like the little picture here over to the right, we're all very well aware of gas prices today and what they're doing. It's one of those questions, even if you're really good and you're budgeting and planning, are you adapting your plans to things like the changing gas prices and things like that? So that's in my opinion, one of the main reasons why financial stress does impact so many. And just before we get into some of the statistics, we're going to kick off a couple polls here, and Tiffany is going to help administer some of these. So thank you, Tiffany, very much. And I'll ask you to maybe give a short introduction of yourself, and then we'll dive into some of the poll questions and see what the responses look like from the people on the call today. So here's the first one. Go ahead, Tiffany.
Hi, my name's Tiffany Carter. For now, I just got married a few weeks ago, so it will be Tiffany Fulweiler. I've been with the company for 2 years, and I currently work as a staff accountant mostly for the services company. So our first survey question today is, we all feel stress or anxiety. What do you feel like is the leading cause in your own life? We want to reiterate that these responses are completely anonymous, and we're going to share the results live in Microsoft Teams. And when the poll is completely done, you'll have to select the done button to close out that poll so we can continue forward. The options are work, family, health, COVID-19, finances, politics, and economy, or all as well. It could be difficult today in 2021 with everything we've going on just to pick one of these answers, but pick the one that best suits you, and we'll see what everyone has to say.
All right. Give just a few more seconds. I think my 10-second Phoenix timer was a little faster than necessary since I see more and more results coming in. And thank you, Tiffany, for administering the question. And it looks like we're getting a lot of great feedback, which is awesome. All right, so if I can drag this over here, I'm assuming everybody can see this, but I'll drag it over here just in case you can't. So as the results come in, we have work at 29%, family at 18%, health and COVID at 7%, finances at 11, and politics at 25, and then 11% said all as well. So that is awesome. I'm glad to see that the spread through the Phoenix family is pretty well balanced. It's nice to see that we don't see finances jumping to the top of the list. I was kind of fingers crossed hoping that today. But and thank you, Greg, for mentioning the results are also in the chat there. So that's great. And then we're also going to do one more poll right back to back, because I'm curious, even if finances are not the stress in your life, maybe at the current moment in time, the next poll is going to focus on just sleep. So Tiffany, if you want to go ahead and read that one as well.
So how many of you have lost sleep over a financial issue? We've got options like, yes, I have, but it's been a while. Yes, I have, it's ongoing, or no, fortunately, I have not. So maybe if you've not lost sleep over a financial issue, maybe you lose sleep over other stressors, or maybe your favorite TV show like Tiger King. That's where I get stuck sometimes.
We'll give 10 seconds here for everybody to respond.
Looks like they're mostly going fairly positive.
That is great. So some are still coming in, but it looks like in general we have a lot that says yes, it's been a while, about half the population. So that's good that it's been a while. Yes, I have. It's ongoing is about a quarter of the people on the call, and no, fortunately have not is about a third. So that is awesome that many have never had to, and that's honestly that's very fortunate, because as you'll see here in some of the statistics across the U.S., it's amazing the unfortunate impact financial stress has on the general population of America. All right, so diving into the numbers then. So in 2019, Capital One, which is a massive financial institution, many of you may bank with them or finance things through them or have a credit card through them. They used their CreditWise product to poll a lot of consumers. And it was kind of the feedback, while I think it was expected, it does put things in a good picture and really reiterate the issues across America. So the interesting feedback was 73% of Americans stress over finances more so than family, work, and politics. And that gets even higher in the younger generations, kind of reiterating that point I made earlier about the education and the fact that can lead, that fear of the unknown and the complexity of the system leads to more and more stress. When you look at the optimism of people in their financial future, this was probably one of the more unfortunate aspects of the feedback from my perspective. To think that 42% of Americans were optimistic about their future, while 10% think they'll be worse off, and 48% were unsure, did not have a good sense of what their financial future looked like. That means, we're almost at 2/3 of our population, almost 60% of them or so, really don't have a great fundamental understanding of how they're trending. And when you think about how our financial system is established, it's really focused on the fact that we earn more as we age, and as we age, we increase our savings and prepare for retirement so we can live a fulfilling life. So some of these stats really drive home the reason why stress becomes such a big issue related to financials. And then while it may not directly link to your bank account per se, it was also interesting to see that a majority of people only really care about their credit score, for instance, when they need to make a large purchase like a new car or a new home. And when you Google how many times on average an American will purchase one of those two things, it's 3 homes and 9 cars. So to think for over 60% of our population, they will only really care about their credit score, which is right, wrong, indifferent, kind of the scoreboard of their personal financial performance at a moment in time. It's kind of scary to think they may only think about it or evaluate it 12 times over the course of their life. On a positive note, though, I will say I was pleased to see that over half of people do use some sort of tool, some sort of digital or online tool to help manage their personal finances. So it's the feedback in this was interesting, somewhat telling to why some of the stress becomes such a pertinent thing in the realm of personal finance. But it is good to see that a large number of people are trying to use tools to improve their personal financial situation. And then diving a little deeper into just the specifics, more of like cash flow management and individual personal financials. Here were some statistics from a survey performed by the Federal Reserve Bank back in 2019, where they evaluated a lot of banking information. And again, here, when it comes to stress specifically, this really drives home the reason why Americans struggle with this so much. So when you look at the bottom 40% of income earners in our country, which make up a very large portion of our population, they have on average across the median count is less than $2,100 in cash-based savings at the moment this survey was performed. So when you consider life is never predictable, it seems like. So when you consider that, emergencies occur and things do happen for an individual, and a majority of our population to be in that bucket of people that an emergency that may cost $1,000 or $800 or something like that, to think that emergency would put them in a really detrimental financial situation is extremely telling to why people stress about this so much. And even more, aside from emergencies, thinking about how that lack of cash-based savings then reduces the number of options to finance purchases, in their life, and knowing that retailers are starting to trend more to these buy now, pay later, or leasing your cell phone and your monthly payments. I believe it was Bill Gates or one of the wealthy individuals in the 1% who had said, anytime you perform a financial decision such as that, you're kind of stealing from your future self just to improve the mindset of your current self. You get to buy that new cell phone, but pay it off over a plan. If it was something you couldn't afford at that moment in time, you should really reevaluate if it makes the most sense for you. But, retailers have really defined ways to take advantage of that. And it's somewhat unfortunate in how it can influence a large portion of our population, and hence why we've kind of found ourselves in this debt-heavy society that we live in today. So those are just some of the numbers, and it's in no way am I trying to build up the reason why stress is so influential to the personal financial realm of our life, but really then the whole aspect of this presentation is to get into how we can reduce those financial stresses and some of the things we can do from budgeting and planning, and we're going to get into that now, and we're going to bounce another poll question off you here shortly after this slide. So one of the things I would say when you evaluate, for instance, the Financial Health Institute, a lot of the articles they have, even if you just do some general searches on your own about how you can improve your own personal financial well-being, one of the most important factors I saw as a trend through everything is just people are almost scared to talk about their finances. They don't feel comfortable maybe going to a financial professional, or opening up to their own family or loved ones or people they trust to discuss finances. And so because of that, you're internalizing a lot. So one of the things that I wanted to bring to the forefront here in terms of some of the basics would be, don't be afraid to talk about it. And there are resources everywhere. So really, if you feel like you need and want to improve your financial wellness, take it may be a little bit of a stepping outside your inbox in a sense, but take control over it and understand that it's beneficial to go talk to people about it, and to improve that overall feeling, to kind of release it anytime we talk about a matter that stresses us out with others. It really does allow you to open up and be truthful with yourself, and that will really improve the decision making going forward. And a lot more to come on this, but then just planning and budgeting. I mean, that's where it all comes down to really reduce your financial stresses. You have to reduce the number of unknowns and the fact that you really don't know which way you're going. So to start to develop a plan and budget and start to change some of those habits to work towards that plan, that is really what will start to reduce the feeling of the stress and the weight of that stress, knowing you are moving in the direction you want to be moving. And then the other thing is, with people, even people who do plan and budget, I mean, something is always going to happen, and emergency savings, and a backup plan can just take a lot of the burden of that unknown and those emergencies, off your plate. My small example, and I asked him if I could share this. A neighbor of mine just recently was unfortunately in a work accident, and he's going to be out of work for 6 months. And it's unfortunate, and those stories happen all the time. And he was fortunate. He's been very good with his personal finances, has developed ways to have different sources of income through rental properties and things like that. And he just said the other day when we took dinner over to him that, thank God that he took it seriously early in his life to set himself up, because he has to provide for a family right now. And being out of work for a long period of time, he could see how it would have been a real struggle to get through that time, and to think how then that would start to weigh on you. You not only have the stress of dealing with the health issue, but then dealing with the stress of the financial aspect of it as well. It just duplicates and starts to snowball. So it can't speak enough to having backup plans and emergency savings and the importance of that. And then for the people who find it difficult to transition into that mindset of planning and budgeting, and because the complexity of the systems, really, it's so important to keep things simple. As much as for some of us on this call, like Tom and Tiffany and I, who work in the world of finance every day, it may seem simple to us, just managing the in and outs of income and expenses and projecting things and forecasting. But really, if everybody steps back and simplifies it and removes themselves from the details of all of the different tools and all the different financial engines and things that are out there that influence us individually, try and step back. Use some of the tools you may have in terms of like your banking software. You may log into your bank and they may, automatically prioritize stuff for you. Just evaluating that so you can develop a very simple plan, and we will get into this in a little bit more detail, is so important, because that'll kind of remove that overwhelming feeling of trying to manage to the specific plans. The easier it is, the better off you will be. So, going to toss another poll question out here. Tiffany, if you'd like to administer this.
So do you have a financial plan or a budget? And the options are yes, and it's up to date. Yes, starting today. I think so. No, but you've got me excited. Or no, I'm confident I do not need a budget. So we're kind of hoping that teaching you some things today, showing you some things will get you excited to either create a budget, revamp your budget, make it a little less stressful for you, maybe a little bit more efficient. So let's see where you're at now.
All right, they're continuing to roll in, and I love what I'm seeing. This is awesome. The accounting nerd in me loves the responses. Thank you.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, mine was still loading, so 70% saying up to date.
That's yes.
And only 4% saying no, they don't want one.
The Phoenix statistics are very different than the average American society statistics.
Okay. Looks so cool.
And Greg, you must be one. That'll be another question we ask soon. So I'm curious to see how many people use some of the new tools available, or if Excel is still the predominant tool used for budgeting at home. All right, so I think we'll move on here. But yes, 68% say yes, they do. It's up to date. 4% will start today. Thank you, 4%. That's exciting. 11% of people say they think they have one, so I'm assuming someone else in the household may manage that budget for them, which is also great. We have 14 people excited to start. That's excellent. And then 4%, I'm confident. I wish I did not need a budget. That would be awesome. That's great. So here, before we dive into the budgeting and planning, I was going to ask Mr. Leonard here on the call to provide some feedback to just a couple questions. When we think about personal finance, and it's something we should do at home. We should plan, we should budget, we should do it periodically, we should evaluate, we should track to it. When you think about it, it's almost like you individually, or you or your family, you're like your own little company in a sense. So I just wanted, Tom, if you don't mind unmuting, maybe introducing yourself for those who may not know you, but Tom, if you could maybe speak to a couple of the questions on the slide here, just from a company's perspective. How often do you, and in the role of overseeing our treasury and cash, how often do you discuss our balances with the executive management team, and who all's involved with that, and why do you think it's so important to keep your finger on the pulse of that?
Perfect. And just a quick introduction. My name's Tom Leonard. I've been with Phoenix for 7 years. And just as the controller of reporting and treasury, that cash management is a big part of what we do, but we also do accounts payable, accounts receivable, payroll. We get involved with the roll up of the financials for the GCOC and the audit. So we have a lot of fun activities. But for these questions, thanks for these questions, Kyle, because
Yep.
to queue it up for, so we look at our cash management at least monthly. And when you think about Phoenix Contact, you know, we are an independent, we are a company that's a private company. And our goal, one of our major goals, is to stay independent. So when we look at the financial metrics for the company, and there are a lot of important ones, the one they hold above all others is where are we with cash? Because the company can't do all the things it needs to do, can't invest, can't grow, because we need the cash in the bank before we can do all those things. So from a company perspective, this is really number one. And when it comes to who's involved, I mean, so Nicole Carter pulls together the cash forecast. She does a great job, but we vet that locally with Dave Russo, finance, with Jack, and they poke holes in that every month. They look at the assumptions we put in. They look at the sales forecast we put in. They look at the daily reports that come in on, you know, what we're going to receive from Bloomberg, all those different things to make sure that our cash looks okay. Because in the end, we have a couple items that keeping our finger on it really do for us. You know, as we go through the year, we have peaks and valleys. We have some times of the year we get a lot of cash. We have sometimes of the year we have to outlay a lot of cash. So as we go through that year, we need to make sure we're comfortable, number one, that we have enough cash to pay all our bills, and that we're in the proper position. You know, we've already done forecasts for 2022, looking at all the things we want to invest in next year to grow our business. Refresh is a great example. In order to do refresh and to spend the money we need for the equipment, we need to make sure we have the money and it's all timed out so that it's appropriate through the year. And then the other item I'd like to mention is you mentioned emergency funds.
Yeah.
So we at Phoenix as a company take that very, very seriously. And the best example I can give you happened a year and a half ago, called COVID-19. Sale, you know, everyone knows what happened to our sales. You know, our business was under a little bit of stress, but we did a great job, both in the States and globally, managing our cash because we were able to get through that. And I think everyone looks at the numbers and what we're being able to do now, being able to get through that period, manage cash, delay some things when we needed to, really benefited us now as we're getting through to the back end as well. So, you know, we are very fortunate that we are in a company that values cash as much as it does. And, you know, healthy companies generate cash. And I think Phoenix Contact is definitely a healthy company.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And thank you so much for that. I mean, aside from that being extremely insightful, I think that's what's kind of neat about some of these polling questions, to think, you know, 70% of all the people that work at Phoenix were on the call today, maintain a budget and a plan and stick to it and keep it up to date is just like the culture of our company. And one of the big, one of the purposes of our company to maintain that independence that you speak of there. So thank you very much for that. Appreciate that. Does anybody have any, this might be a good time, does anybody have any questions or would they like to throw anything out there for Tom or Tiffany and I regarding kind of the company level cash management? If not, no big deal, not to put anybody on the spot, but just was curious as we're because we'll segment in here to the benefits of planning and some of the tools here shortly. If not, all good. Okay, we'll keep going. So, as Tom mentioned, what are the benefits of a realistic financial plan and keeping that up to date, as Tom mentioned, and maintaining the healthy company that we like working for, and then as it relates to us personally, ensuring the most positive financial wellness possible. So the beauty of a plan and a budget is just being able to keep your eye on a prize. You know, in those plans and in those budgets, you may want to purchase a new car or be preparing for the purchase of a new home. And when you when you have a plan and you set goals and then you achieve those goals, it just starts to build on that positive mindset, builds on that achievement, allows you to really establish stronger, better habits, which is wonderful. It should help you identify some bad spending habits and making sure you don't spend money that you don't have, or what, you can at least visually see how spending money on something you didn't have in the plan will influence the future of your plan. And I don't know if it's a quote or a saying, I've seen it on some little meme pop-ups before. I do love the stop buying things you don't need to impress people you don't like. In no way is it meant to be rude towards anyone, but it does. When you think of the American society and the way that many of us live, unfortunately, there's a focus on the material aspects of our life, the cars you drive, the clothes you wear, things like that. And sometimes it's unfortunate to think how many times bad purchasing habits may lead to some of the financial stresses that we incur. When it comes to your retirement, I mean, a plan and working with a finance professional to make sure you're working towards that plan for a fruitful retirement, one that you can live out the way you foresee, is extremely important. Thank my dad. He's always super adamant about that. Dollar saved is a dollar earned. And when you think about that, the financial system and getting to retirement, you never want to have to step back on your lifestyle when you shift into retirement. I'd like to think we don't. Is it live to work? Yeah, we don't live to work. We work to live, and you want to be able to live and experience things in retirement. And that's why it's so important to have that plan, have it established early, and keep on that plan and track to it, and continue to save. Again, preparing for emergencies, just like Tom mentioned, COVID-19, as it hit the business, as it hit us as individuals, it put us all in an unknown scenario. And I think for people who are well prepared and prepared for emergencies, I would think mentally they were able to handle the stress of all those other factors, economics, politics, all the news of COVID, all the unknowns. It was probably easier to absorb all of that as somebody who was well prepared from a financial perspective. And then again, down below, the last thing I'll mention just is the spending habits. If you have a plan and you're again, keeping it simple, you're going to go out to restaurants, go out to the bar, go spend, get your Starbucks, have your gym membership. It's important to maybe every once in a while, and it's funny, there's new apps now that do this for you, that look at all your transactions and try to find things you don't really use. It's unbelievable in today's world how easy it is to sign up for something like a new video streaming service, and then it just becomes a recurring payment on your bill. Well, if you're not monitoring things closely and you don't have a plan that identifies that stuff, it's kind of easy for that stuff to get out of control for a lot of people. So it's definitely one of those things that, a plan and tracking and looking at your activity and your transactions can help you identify where you could potentially save more and reduce any of those bad spending habits. And another poll popping up. Tiffany, if you'd administer that, please.
So for this one, we're asking, how often do you take action to manage your personal finances? For those that do you do it no comments, daily, weekly, monthly? I checked my bank account once. There we go. And I'm not paying attention because I'm working on them right now. So we think that, as Kyle mentioned, there's no one correct answer. Everybody has to find something that works well for them. So whatever method works for you, that's what you should do. But it looks like a lot of people are coming in with the answer of weekly.
Which is great. I was going to say, yep. And I would really always push for a monthly review at least, because things can change monthly. And on top of the benefits of tracking to a plan and evaluating your finances, the other complexity of today's world is so much of it is technology driven, and to monitor your transactions is also, it's a good habit to get into from a security perspective. The underlying all of personal finance is the fact that unfortunately fraud and things occur in different ways where people can get access to information. You always have to be aware and be prepared for communications from your banking institutions or other financing entities to make sure that your accounts and your information are safe. And performing transaction reviews and reviewing your you're managing your personal finances on a periodic basis will help you do that, just on top of the technology that's supposed to monitor that for you. So great to see that it looks like about 60% of people do it weekly, about a third do it monthly, and then 8% do it daily. That's awesome. And I think we had no responses for we had 4%. I'm not paying attention because they're working on it right now. That's awesome. That's a great way to spend your lunch. I like that.
There might have been a few more because there's only 25 responses. So.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll keep an eye on that as they leak in here. We'll see if people are evaluating their calendars to see how often they look at it. So let's say you're one of those wonderful people that do have a plan. And this is always kind of amazing to me. And this was on a few surveys. I didn't put it in here, but it was unbelievable to see how many people actually, sit down, put forth a plan. They budget things. They maybe go into Excel, but then they don't update it as often as they do. And they don't actually have like a budget to actual report or something like that, where they evaluate like, hey, am I trending the way I expected to trend? So again, just to reiterate kind of the poll question, check it regularly. There's no right, wrong, or indifferent answer there. I would suggest that at the latest it'd be monthly, but if you're doing a weekly, like it looks like a majority of people are, that is fantastic. Really, if you can use tools that categorize your expenses, that'd be great. I'm sure we all do kind of naturally, or you can leverage some of your banking or credit card tools on their websites that help you do that stuff. And then really, I don't know if I've seen this through a couple personal financial things. Some individuals go through and they color code. If you're using Excel, for instance, if you have a budget for, let's say, gas, and you're tracking to that budget, make that line like a light green, or make it or a light yellow, something where it's like, that's a spending category that you trend very well on, and there's not going to have a lot of variability to it. So if you're identifying where you're succeeding, and then you identify those other lines where there's maybe room for improvement, you'll start to better understand where you need to plan. Okay, I'm very confident about this, but I'm not so confident about that, so I should plan for more variability in that line item of my budget. And then, as with anything, as it relates to our mental health, and don't get me wrong, some people, their reward is to put more into savings. They feel good about that, and if you're one of those people, that is amazing. Some people like to reward themselves with some sort of treat. In my opinion, it's always important to reward yourself from a mental perspective, because all of these, all of the effort you put into this should generate some sort of mental return for you, and that is very, very important. So don't forget to reward yourself when you're achieving your goals. Another poll question. I think this might be the last one of the day, and then we'll have as much interaction as I was hoping to get, which is great. So thank you all. But Tiffany, if you'd like to administer this one.
So if you do take action to manage your personal finances, what tools do you like to use? Independent financial apps or software, tools offered by your bank, Excel or Google Sheets, Columnar, Greenbar ledger paper I bought in 1983, other tools, or I don't know, still figuring it out. I think this is pretty similar to how often you budget. There's no necessarily wrong or right answer. It's whatever works for you, but having the flexibility to adjust and explore or experiment new tools, like there's new things coming out all the time. So I think it's important to stay flexible and stay open to different options that maybe are less stressful for you. There's something out there that might work better. And we're going to kind of get into some of those tools next.
Yes, we will. Thank you very much, Tiffany. And it looks like about half the people are like me, Excel, Google Sheets, kind of, I'll say quote unquote old school. I do see one person using the Greenbar paper down there. That's awesome. I mean, I would just, not that I want to see the numbers on it, I would just like to see how it's done, because I've always been impressed by people who do that. I'm assuming it looks a little bit like this guy, but hey, who knows? So it was Jeff. I should have known it was Jeff. All right, that makes that's funny. All right, so we will shift into some of the tools. So we'll just go through this just briefly, just to speak to some things. And I know Tiffany's going to go through this slide. I just wanted to give her a little bit of a shout out. So in the chat here, probably towards the end of the call, and definitely via email, Wanda will provide it. Tiffany, in her spare time, put together an awesome one-pager, a table outline of all of these different applications and tools, and some of the benefits and features that they offer. So if it's a free app or if it's a paid app, if it links to your banking information and automatically categorize it, if it has any linkage to your taxation at the end of the year to help you do your taxes and be more efficient there. So we will provide that as kind of as a virtual handout after it, but just wanted to give Tiffany a round of applause because she spent extra time on that, and it is awesome. It's a really nice one-page resource that anybody can evaluate, and I think you guys will find that very useful. But Tiffany, if you would like to go through the slide a little bit and maybe speak to some of these, that would be great.
Thanks, Kyle. So first, we're going to just discuss, kind of categorize them a little bit. Most of the tools listed here are just budgeting, financial management, tracking tools, things like Mint, Quicken, Monarch, Personal Capital. You heard some of these. Maybe some of you guys use these tools, but they're tools simply to basically make a budget and track. And again, as Kyle stated, the table I will providing goes into detail of what kind of the differences between some of them. A lot of them are fairly similar though, but just little differences about them, different features, things of that nature. We also have the tried and true Excel, Google Docs that majority of the people look like they use. It's a really great blank canvas if you want to create your own budget. You want it very personalized. There's also Acorns, which I'll get into a little bit here in a second. So I'm just going to touch base on a few of them so you have an idea. Mint is a free personalized financial management website and app. It allows you to link in your bank accounts, your bills, your credit cards, your loans. You can link all of your accounts into this secure app. It'll easily track your spending against your budget and will help you with personalized suggestions along the way, kind of keep you in line. Quicken is it's a software that you can have available on your desktop, your on the web browser, or a mobile app. It has multiple levels of tracking and assistance available. It starts at $35.99 per year, and it helps you create a budget, track your spending, create savings goals, and this will also actually tie in to help you create your tax return as well. Monarch was very similar to Mint in terms of it links with your bank account and helps you create a personalized budget and track your spending. But it does cost about $10 per month, but it has 0 ads, so it won't try to push anything on you. It shows your bad habits or good habits and provides advice along the way. And one of the best features I personally like is that it has an option for inviting a roommate or a partner into the app so you can show your shared expenses. They have their own account. You can go in and share your house bills or whatever. So I think that that's a really great app if you have roommates or partners. And then the last one I'm going to touch on here is Acorns. For about $3 a month, you can link your bank account to this app. And what it'll do is take every transaction you have and round it up to the nearest dollar. And it'll invest that money for you. It's kind of like a mindless investing. The app also offers ways to gain free investment money through their partnerships. So by simply shopping at your favorite stores, you can earn cash back that will automatically be added to your investment account for you. And that's about it for those.
All right. Perfect. Thank you so much, Tiffany, for going through that. And as I mentioned, we will, the thing I had up on the screen, the table Tiffany put together, we will supply that. And then we'd love to hear any of your feedback, and we can build on this if necessary, because we might find it's another good polling question. I'd be curious to see some of the feedback people have about using some of the different applications. So the more you know about what you have, the better off you're going to be. To kind of reiterate a couple things here and build upon some of the basic topics we've touched. When it comes to your personal finances, do not be afraid to try new things, especially if it allows you to save money. And so in a call the other day, Tom had mentioned this, and I was like, that is a great idea that I don't think enough people think about. Like when it comes to budgeting and planning, and you look at things that like your auto expenses, and you just think about how you're putting them in your monthly expenditures, and you're looking for ways to save additional money, think about some of the things you can do that maybe reduce some of your expenditures that are variable. Like, can you change the oil in your car, or can you meal prep to go avoid going out to eat so often? It's pretty wild to think how much you'll spend on those if you track them closely, especially in an environment like today where it seems like prices are increasing all over the place. Small little things you can do like that may help you to save additional money in your financial plan. as Tiffany just mentioned, with promotional offers and things like that, really skim the fine print. You may find if you look at your credit cards and banking institutions, there might be different promotional offers that allow you more points back or ways to save, or or even like the rounding up of some of your transactions to get some investment income. I mean, if you read through the fine print and evaluate these promotional offers, kind of like couponing in a sense, it is unbelievable to see the amount you can save to help improve your situation as well. And then really keeping your finger on the pulse of current market conditions. So as we all know, kind of politics and their influence on the economy and the markets over the past few years has just been crazy. You look at the housing market today, and to see it's definitely a seller's market. It's unbelievable to see. I'm sure everybody's been aware, have heard some story of a neighbor selling and they got 20,000 over their asking price or something like that. It's when the market conditions are right, it's always important to take a periodic look at things like, if you have a mortgage, your interest rate. Is it something you should consider refinancing? And for a lot of people, it's unfortunate that some of those moves seem scary, maybe because of the complexity of it, but feel free to reach out to business professionals and get feedback. There's a ton of different services out there that'll kind of evaluate your situation and give you some sort of free consult or very cheap consultation to tell you maybe something you should consider. And obviously, as it stands today, banks are really, they love lending money today because it's again a market in which the value of things is up, and they love to make those moves. So if it's something that would benefit you in your financial plan to maybe reduce a mortgage payment or something like that, always keep your finger on that pulse and make sure you're doing things that would best suit you. And then as it relates to kind of the non-financial moves, honestly, just Google financial wellness. It's unbelievable the information you'll see out there, whether it be just things you can do to help improve your wellness and your state of mind as it relates to your finances, kind of the mental aspect of it, all to suggestions of financial moves you can make to improve your trend and your plan and your budget. And really, because of the complexity of the world, it seems like things change all the time. Like as Tiffany mentioned, there's new apps, all this stuff. It's constant. It seems like to just every once in a while perform a search, read a couple articles. I mean, to think how much time people spend on social media apps and things like that, maybe to take a little time and break away from that and do some research, it will generate a benefit for you in the future for sure. And I love that saying, when you never go broke when you're investing in yourself. There's nothing better than investing in yourself and your future. And that's ultimately why we're here with this presentation. Tiffany, are you going to say something? I'm sorry.
Yes, sorry. Also, some of the investment apps or the financial management apps I had mentioned in the last slide do have some great education as well. They have different podcasts you can listen to, or different like little streaming things you can listen to, or just to learn about different things with your finances as well, that you could definitely take advantage of. Perfect.
Thank you for mentioning that. Appreciate it. So in a nutshell, to kind of wrap up today, because we are at 12:50, I love this saying. I'm sure most people know who Susie Orman is. If you don't, I highly suggest researching her. And she's got some great content out there that's really focused on financial wellness. And she kind of reiterates that original quote that we looked at the beginning of the presentation, that you only really understand your self-worth when it's not determined by your net worth, then you'll have financial freedom. So it's really the fact that your bank account number is not what dictates your health. And I put this little down here: your health is the most valuable aspect of your wealth. That is what we're trying to reiterate with this whole thing. And keeping it simple will help you manage your personal finances, will help keeping track of it be easier. I can't reiterate that aspect of it enough. Don't be afraid to talk about your finances and look for supporting resources. Stay realistic. Statistically, when people lose sleep over their finances, that's one thing that's sad to think. You lose a couple hours of sleep for something that you can't change tomorrow. You have to be realistic about your thought processes, and always remember that it takes small actions to start to change any trend as it relates to managing the stress of your personal finances. Always reward yourself and put life in perspective. When you're saving and building up and you're tracking your plans, if you're doing really well, reward yourself and your family from time to time, just to make sure it improves your financial wellness, especially coming out of COVID here. So many people weren't able to take vacations and didn't get to kind of get away from their home and have experiences that they would typically have. So as we're coming out of COVID, I know a lot of people have a little more cash than they typically have had in the past because of some of the things that occurred here with lack of travel and things like that. So really, if you find yourself in a good position, make sure you do reward yourself in a way that you feel is most appropriate. And then I'm going to end on this. This is, I think, the last slide before we can take some questions and answers. This would be a little challenge. It's, we're coming up here close to the end of the year. We're getting into the holiday season, which is always a fun financial time of year when we're thinking about gift giving. And I absolutely loved Wanda's financial email that she put out not long ago about how our presence and just being around family and spending time with them is so much more valuable. I mean, you can't put a price tag on it compared to the physical gifts you give. And it's so important when you think about your overall sense of wellness. I mean, that time you get to spend with your family and loved ones is so valuable. But as it relates to the challenge, if you're somebody, luckily a lot of people on this call already have a plan and a budget. But if you don't, and you've been slow to get that going, I challenge you to the sticky note budget challenge. And it's as simple as, first, your starting bank account balances. Summarize just what your income could or should be through the first 3 months, and then guesstimate all of those expenses and try and guess what your ending bank account number will be on March 31st. And maybe keep that sticky note in a discreet location, obviously not where others could see it if you want to maintain your privacy with your financials, but keep it in a location where you're going to see it often and just see how it affects your financial habits, your decision making. You never know. You might get a text from a friend that they're going out to a restaurant, and next thing you know, you decided, I'm just going to go out and hang inside tonight because I know I don't want to spend that disposable income right now. I'm trying to save it to build up to a goal. So that's a little challenge. I'm not sure. I may work with Wanda and put it out on Sprout. We'll see. But if just wanted to throw it out there as a suggestion, that's very simple and very easy for some people to do here as we start into the new year of 2022, which we hope is a much different year than the past 2 or 3 we've experienced. So wrapping it up, please don't be shy. I'm curious if anybody has any thoughts or suggestions or success stories or tools that they use or different strategies that we may not have touched upon. If you do, we would love to hear from you. And if we run out of time, obviously we can maintain the chat going for a little bit, or we can summarize some things in email after we hear back from everyone. And I think
there's a few comments in the chat about some of the different apps that people have used and their, them finding certain things helpful. It looks
I love that, Tyler Gold. That's awesome. A money mission statement to guide our finances for the year. Top 5 priorities. That's awesome. I really like that. That's a great idea. And also, Tyler, thank you for posting that personal finance podcast.
Yeah, I'm going to check that out.
But if anybody has anything they'd like to share with us, please let us know. We will include it in the email distribution, sometime in the near future, where we also share that table that Tiffany put together of the applications. Jeff, that's a great point. Negotiating cash discounts with contractors. If you're able to save, that kind of goes back to the maintaining cash savings gives you more options for financing things, and when you can negotiate with cash, you can't beat it. It's great. Greg, DoorDash is it's I'm sure that company is not doing too bad. That's great. Well, as we wrap up here with 4 more minutes, I just want to thank everyone. Special thanks to Tom and Tiffany for hopping on, providing some feedback, and I hope everybody found this to be valuable. We hope to kind of build upon this in the future, maybe being a part of some more lunch and learns from a financial perspective. And we would really love and appreciate any feedback you all have. If there's other topics you'd like to see us touch upon, that would be great. But really hope everyone has a wonderful Friday. Have a wonderful weekend, and try to save $1 or $2 over the weekend if you can. That'd be great.
And thank you.